Let's have a conversation. Tell me what you think about the issues of the world. What kind of spice you wanna be? Tell me where you wanna travel. Do you believe in luxury? What's your hidden passion? What makes you so unique? Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings, Nicole Everett here with Conversations with Nicole, and today's featured guest is Kim Rivers, the CEO of Trulieve. We'll also have segments on education, entertainment, and health. So come on, let's get this conversation started.
Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings, this is Nicole Everett, and we're here at Conversations with Nicole at the Union Bank here in Tallahassee, Florida. And today my special guest is Ms. Kim Rivers. Welcome, Kim.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
So Kim, you're from Jacksonville originally.
Yes.
Attended Florida State and also University of Florida Law School.
Yes.
And you're back here in Tallahassee. So tell me what brought you back?
Really a couple of things. I mean, I think first, my love at the time was here, and so I moved back. I think that's a common story, right, for a relationship. And I'm just so thankful to be back in Tallahassee. You know, I was in Atlanta for a while, and like you said, I grew up in Jacksonville. But I think that Tallahassee provides a unique mix of obviously being a beautiful place and being the capital, but also, you know, having the opportunity to really jump in and you know, get involved and really take hold of all that the community has to offer.
Absolutely. Now you recently opened the first medical marijuana dispensary, Trulieve. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a really exciting project. It's been about 2.5 years in the making. It started back in 2014 and had a group that got together and met all the qualifications, assembled a just fantastic team with expertise from across the country, but all based and had deep roots here in Northwest Florida. And we have now an 80,000 square foot cultivation facility and processing manufacturing facility out in Gadsden County and Quincy. And then, like you mentioned, we opened the first retail outlet here in Tallahassee. And so it's an exciting and historic moment in Florida, and certainly has been a wonderful, wonderful experience so far.
So tell me, what does it mean to have a medicinal marijuana dispensary? What does that entail?
Sure. Well, I mean, it basically entails, in the state of Florida, back in 2014, a law that was passed that allowed for the cultivation and processing and dispensing of low THC, high CBD cannabis in the state of Florida. And so what that is that's non-euphoric. It was called the Charlotte's Web Law. And so that is a specific strain of cannabis that assists folks that have cancer or chronic and severe muscle spasms. So epileptic children, you hear a lot of those stories. So that was passed, and that is of course available now. And then secondly, in 2016, under the Right to Try Act, full strength medical cannabis was passed and available for patients that are terminal. So if someone is diagnosed by 2 physicians with a year or less to live, they have access to full strength, any strain medical cannabis. And so we offer these products to very seriously ill patients in our area. We also offer home delivery, so we can deliver as well, because a lot of our patients actually are immobile. They have trouble actually with transportation to and from our dispensaries.
I see. Would it be considered palliative care?
Yes, definitely, specifically on the terminal side of things, for sure. And one of the challenges I will say right now with the current law is that patients have to wait 90 days prior to the ordering physician being able to order. So they have to be under the care of the ordering physician for 90 days. So a lot of folks who, for example, if you're entering into a hospice situation or it really truly is an end of life scenario, unfortunately what we're finding is that they haven't established that care with a physician who is qualified to order medical cannabis prior to them passing. So it's been It's been definitely a very interesting and sometimes heartbreaking business, honestly. But for the patients that we're helping, it's incredible. I mean, we every day get stories and hear from patients that our products are changing their lives. And I mean, that's incredible when you see, talk to a mother with a child whose seizures have dramatically decreased when there was a woman who had facial muscle spasms and she wasn't able to open her eyes, and after 2 weeks of being on our product, she's about 80-year-old grandmother.
Wow.
She could see.
That's incredible.
And she's, her quote is that it was like Christmas morning.
So that's very interesting, Kim. When we come back from the break, we'll hear more from you about Trulieve and what it has to offer. Welcome back to Conversations with Nicole. For those of you who are just joining us, I have Kim Rivers here, the CEO of Trulieve, the first medical marijuana dispensary here in Tallahassee, Florida. Kim, so we were talking earlier about what Trulieve does. I know there are a lot of myths when you talk about medicinal marijuana, and folks think, oh, I can just get a sample, if I have a prescription, and don't realize that it's people with very severe, health issues. So, tell us a little bit about some of those myths and how we can dispel some of that.
Sure. Well, I think that, I mentioned it's been a 2.5-year process. And so our application was about 2,000 pages long. And we have to abide by every single page in that application. We're regulated by the Department of Health and the Office of Compassionate Use. Anyone who comes into the store, so just talking a little bit about that experience, you would go to the front desk and you would be immediately asked for your patient identification number or your some other identifier that we could look you up in the system. So you have to have an active order from a physician, and that physician has to have given you a diagnosis of either cancer, severe and chronic muscle spasms, or terminal. And then the physician actually provides your dosing and says what type of product you can get. So in Florida, the other big myth is that we're just going to smoke. That's actually absolutely illegal in the state of Florida. Right. We do not sell bud or flower. It is not a California situation. So what we do sell is we sell oil, we sell in a dropper, a tincture, we sell a vaporizer oil in the CBD, and then also in the THC, and then we also sell capsules. The capsules are actually one of our more popular products, and we think that's just because physicians are very comfortable with dosing in capsules, and it's a very precise, easy to take for folks who are struggling with some of these illnesses. And then we also have an oral syringe, which is it's not a needle syringe, but it's a syringe with this very concentrated oil that you can dose on either a cracker or you can freeze it and take it like a pill. It's got a couple of different dosing mechanisms. But mothers with children like that because it's very precise. And then we have a flower vaporizer, which is a ground flower product, but it does have a very specifically engineered cap on it, so you can't just dump it out. But that's our closest flower product, because there are some good effects called the entourage effect from the different chemical compounds within the marijuana plant that work together. So you have not only the CBD and the THC, which a lot of people talk about, but you have CBN, CBAs. There's actually a lot of different, exactly. So no, this is absolutely for medicinal purposes. It's highly regulated and very restricted in our state.
Okay. So how'd you get into Trulieve in terms of what prompted this?
Right. That's a great question. I never in a million years thought that I would be sitting here talking to you about marijuana. My father is a police officer. My mother was an assistant principal, so this was not on the career path. Right. We had to have kind of a dinner conversation about all of this when I started. I have had relationships with the guys that, so in Florida, you had to be a nursery that was established for a minimum of 30 years and in the area in which you were going to apply. And so as you know, in Tallahassee, everybody knows everybody. And so, so some owners of one of the nurseries reached out who were longtime friends and said, you know, we're thinking about this, but we're not sure from a legal and regulatory standpoint how to navigate the process. You know, is this something you would be interested in? And so that's how I got involved, is really on the front end, trying to understand what the laws are, trying to understand how to build a business around this new industry, and then started assembling the team. And so members of our team have been very personally and directly affected by medical cannabis. Our COO, Jason Purnell, his mother-in-law actually suffered stage 4 cancer, was given 3 months to live, ended up living 3 years. Our processing manager, Craig Kirkland, his wife, Abby, is a breast cancer survivor, was just honored as the honoree for Cards for a Cure, has been in remission, and they owe a big part of that to
so there's a longevity of life that occurs as a result of being able to have access to this.
Yeah, well, we found in cancer patients particularly, it really assists with anti-nausea and with sleep. And so with the chemotherapy, and that's often two things that people are robbed of. And so, yeah, medical cannabis assists greatly.
That is wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today for Conversations with Nicole. That's all the conversation we have time for today. But hopefully you'll come back and tell us more about what Trulieve is doing in the future.
Absolutely, anytime.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us on Conversations with Nicole. Stay tuned for more.
Hello, my name is Dr. Nzinga Metzger, and I am a professor of anthropology at Florida A&M University in the Sociology and Criminal Justice Department. Bucky Turns 40 is an exhibit that focuses on a particular moment in time for Black animation. And this moment in time is important because of the way that Black people were portrayed in the media and in animation during the antebellum period, moving right up through the Reconstruction period, the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Bucky Turns 40 focuses on the time period between the 1960s and the 1970s, where we have characters that were created specifically to present Black people in a positive light. So whereas in the antebellum period, and more so also in the Reconstruction period, we have the development of these stereotypes: the buck, the coon, the mammy, the pickaninny, the sapphire, the Jezebel. We move away from those characters in the 1960s and 70s, and we have these cool, funky little kids in afros like the Jackson 5 cartoon, Fat Albert, Josie and the Pussycats, that really kind of shows Black people, Black children in a positive light, and is connected in a lot of ways to the cultural arts movement that is happening during the 60s and 70s that is running parallel to the civil rights movement. I think that the significance of the imagery is that this wave of positive images of Black people in the media. Prior to that, most of the imagery that we were getting in the media, whether it was through commercials or whether it was as sidekicks to white people, were characters that were not designed or created by Black people for Black people. So for a very long time in American history, Black people were not viewed through the lens of their own eyes. They were viewed through the eyes of other people, and not so much only other people, but other people who had a particular agenda and a particular point and a purpose in portraying us in very particular ways. So this exhibit, Bucky Turns 40, if you think about it, you can think about it in context with blaxploitation films, where even though blaxploitation films did kind of take advantage of stereotypes, they took advantage of those stereotypes to kind of turn them around and make Black people the heroes. So there's this push and this wave to try to redesign how Black people are portrayed in the media. And the media includes, obviously, magazines, newspapers, news stories, any different kinds of publications, and then obviously television and radio. So this particular niche is animation, which I think has been overlooked by a lot of scholars, a lot of art historians, and it's an important moment that we need to consider in context with the cultural arts movement, the civil rights movement that generated a lot of what we have access today as Black people in terms of imagery. The exhibit is open now, and it'll be open until at the end of October. So we're hoping that we get lots of people coming through. We're gonna have some events that are associated with the exhibit, so that we hope that brings some people into the Black Archives, not only to look at Bucky Turns 40, but some of the other exhibits that we have in the Meek Eaton Museum.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jenelle Nicole. I am an educator first and foremost. I'm also a nutrition consultant and a wellness and weight loss coach. I also manage the blog entitled, the video blog entitled, Am I Fat? The video blog, Am I Fat, was birthed out of a regular blog that I had started writing a few years ago, and so someone put the idea in my mind to do a video blog of what I was doing. And so the blog just kind of chronicles some of my issues with my weight and body image, as well as issues with food. And so I kind of put all of those issues together to give practical tools for individuals, as well as my own personal stories of my own struggles with weight and food. So nutrition is the science of how different nutrients work in the body, or not having the right nutrients in the body, how the body works without the right nutrients in the body. So we're just looking at, when I say nutrients, we're talking about carbohydrates, we're talking about fat, protein, vitamins, minerals, water. How do these things help the body, and how does the lack of these things hurt the body? So I would say good nutrition is dependent upon the person. If you have a certain illness or disease, there are certain foods that might be beneficial to your body, whereas there might be certain foods that have too much of a certain nutrient that could hurt you. Like if you, for instance, if you had kidney disease, we want to monitor your potassium and your magnesium levels. Having too much of that could be detrimental to that person. But in general, whatever nutrients a person needs that are most beneficial to providing life in their body, vitality in their body, that's what I would consider good nutrition. Three important nutrition tips. I'd say eat less when you go out to eat. I think most times we go out to eat, we get double portion, and it's mostly double portion of fat and double portion of sugar. And so I would say eat less when you go out to eat. Eat often. So eating multiple times a day, I think, would be best, just to keep our metabolism going, whether it be 2 or 3 larger meals and 2 or 3 small 100-calorie snacks or so. And then eat less, eat often, and eat more fruits and vegetables. So when we talk about the things that are most nutritious for the body, fruits and vegetables will always be the go-to foods, especially non-starchy vegetables, but fruits and vegetables are going to bring the most vitality to the body. They are going to be the most productive in the body.
With Nicole.
John Brown, community servant, Florida Jazz and Blues Festival. We hosted our inaugural festival September 23rd through the 25th, 2016. know, it was really a discussion about some things that needed to be here in Tallahassee. We often have an opportunity to travel, and even the city and the county and the chamber have put components in place to go to other places and see how other people are doing things in other cities, and hopefully being able to bring some of those the wonderful parts about that back to our community. And we talk a lot about culture here. We talk a lot about retention, talent retention, student, young talent, young mind retention. And to me, all of that is based on culture. You have to create culture. It won't just happen. And when we talked about the potential of doing a music festival in Cascade, specifically a jazz festival, it's just something that needed to be done. We have some jewels in our community right here, one specifically, Scotty Barnhart, Leon Anderson, Lindsey Sargent, Marcus Roberts. These are jewels in our community. Sometimes we see these people here and they're just these individuals. These individuals go outside of our community and they are treated as they should be. And we had an opportunity to partner with Scotty and bring him onto our team. And when we first talked to him about doing the jazz festival, he said, I think that's a phenomenal idea. I would love to do a festival. I love Cascades Park. It's a wonderful venue and we should do it. And I said, okay, I'll be in touch. Highlights for me, I think Mr. Sip on Friday was amazing, had people out of their seats, just simply amazing. The Count Basie Orchestra on Saturday, Freddie Cole on Saturday, just, I mean, magical, right? I mean, seeing, I'm a Tallahassee-Leon County boy, so seeing the quality and the caliber of a Count Basie Orchestra in open air at Cascades under the twilight was just magical. I mean, that's something that's usually reserved for Ruby Diamond Theater or in Lee Hall, and not in the open air of an outdoor facility. So that was just magical. Shamika Copeland, again, one of the biggest blues artists in the world right now, abandoning the mic and singing throughout the amphitheater without a microphone. I mean, that was just amazing. And obviously Rebirth Brass Band closing it down on Sunday was phenomenal. This year was about dotting the I's and crossing the T's and turning it into reality, right? Moving something from concept to reality is really a feat, and we're blessed to be able to have been able to accomplish it. So we're very thankful for that. I think the gift here is the connections that Scotty has. I mean, he is one of them. He is a peer. He's not a businessman in that sense, or he's not a promoter, or he's not a manager or an agent. He is a world-class artist. He's a two-time Grammy-winning jazz trumpeter. So when he's calling on his peers, he is physically calling them on his cell phone and making these relationships work. And what that means for this community is really we can have anybody we wanted, and that's powerful. Obviously, finances can be boundaries and schedules can be boundaries, but access is key. We can have anybody we want. That's amazing. So the future of the festival is bright, and I look forward to continuing the work to build it. We said from the beginning, this is something that can be for our children's children, and it was good seeing my little boys run around. I'm sure people were like, "Oh, these kids running around," but I'm hopeful over the years we can have pictures. Hopefully they'll be working the festival one day.
Thank you for joining us for Conversations with Nicole. Join us next week for more conversations. And remember, your faith can move mountains, your doubt can create them.
With Nicole.